Welcome to the Senate Committee on Education. Today we're having a joint hearing with the Committee on Labor, Culture, and the Arts. Today is Friday, February 11th at 3 p.m. We are in hearing room 229. This meeting, including the audio and video of remote participants, is being streamed live on YouTube. You will find links to viewing options for all Senate meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website. This Zoom meeting and YouTube live stream event will include the 3 o'clock agenda for the Committee on Education and the Committee on Labor, Culture, and the Arts. In the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end this hearing due to major technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business on Monday, February 14th, 2022 at 3 o'clock p.m. in this hearing room, and a public notice will be posted on the legislature's website. I'd like to take this time to remind our testifiers that due to time restrictions on our hearings, we will be limiting testimony to 1 minute per testifier per bill. For people participating remotely, please remain muted and video disabled until shortly before it is your turn to testify. When I call your name, unmute yourself and your time will begin. After your minute is completed, staff will mute you so that we can move this hearing along in an orderly and efficient manner. Thank you. First on our agenda, sorry, let me introduce my committee. To my far right is my Vice Chair, Donna Mercado Kim. To my far left is Senator Drew Kanuha, and online I have Senator Favela and Senator Dela Cruz. Chair, would you like to introduce
on behalf of the Committee on Labor, Culture, and the Arts, myself as Chair, Senator EDU-HRE is here in the room. We also have Senator Chang, Senator Kehokalole, and Senator Favela online.
Thank you. And our first bill is Senate Bill 3092 relating to commercial enterprises in schools. First to testify, or the only testimony we have, is Superintendent Keith Hayashi, please.
Good afternoon, Chair Kidani, Chair Taniguchi, Vice Chair Mercado Kim, Vice Chair Ihara, and members of the committee. The department supports Senate Bill 3092 and appreciates the legislature's support with our efforts to provide work-based learning experiences for our students. Student internship is an integral part of our workforce development initiative, providing our students with the hands-on and real-world experiences that are critical to post-secondary and workforce success. The revenue generated from commercial enterprises will allow schools to sustain and grow their programs and to continue to provide students with work-based opportunities. Thank you for your continued support. Mahalo.
Thank you, Superintendent. Members, are there questions of the Superintendent?
I do have a question. For the Superintendent?
Yes. Senator Ihara?
Do you have a number, an estimate of how many interns there are with businesses in the last year?
Currently, thank you for the question, Senator. Currently, I don't have that number, but I can definitely get that to you.
I understand there's a Climb High program that you folks have. Is that accurate? And how far? I want to just get because I believe that part of that is having DOE students intern with businesses.
Yes, Climb High Bridge is an organization that the department does partner with, and Climb High Bridge actually is a process where it connects industry work-based learning opportunities for students from it could include guest speakers in the classroom all the way to internships and different experiences between those two. And Climb High Bridge acts as a connector for schools to connect with industry partners.
Sorry, you're not on the Zoom, huh?
So there are many schools that are currently connected with Climb High Bridge. I'm not sure though, Senator Ihara, how many of our students participating in with Climb High are actively in internship programs. But I do know that they do support schools with a range from guest speakers in work-based learning all the way to internships. But I definitely can find out from them how many active internships that we have in the department and get that information to you.
Because they'd be covered by this bill, I think.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you.
Members, further questions? If not, thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you.
Second bill on the agenda is Senate Bill 2711 relating to education, specifies additional exceptions under child labor laws to include work-based learning programs with employers. To testify, Interim Superintendent Hayashi, please.
Good afternoon, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Mercado Kim, Chair Taniguchi, and Vice Chair Ihara, and members of the committee. I am Terry Ushijima, Interim Assistant Superintendent with the Department of Education, testifying on behalf of Interim Superintendent Keith Hayashi. The department supports the intent of SB 2711, but defers to the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations in regards to the legal implications this measure could have on current labor laws. Thank you for this opportunity to provide testimony on SB 2711.
Thank you. Next to testify, Director from DLIR, Ann Pereira-Estacchio. Are you there,
Good
Director?
afternoon, Chair Kidani, Chair Taniguchi, Vice Chair Mercado Kim, and Vice Chair Ihara, as well as the members of the both committees. The department stands on its written testimony in opposition to this measure as it removes the statutory protections for child laborers. I just want to point out that the current statute does not prohibit the expanded exemptions sought in this proposal, but does require work permits and limitations on age, hours, and total time for these underage individuals. And I'm here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Next to testify, David Miyashiro, testifying as Executive Director for Hawaii Kids Can. David?
Aloha chairs, vice chairs, and committee members. Hawaii Kids Can supports SB 2711. Hawaii has a strong interest in students having career readiness and employability skills. SB 2711 does not take Hawaii out of the mainstream of state efforts or out of compliance. For example, Delaware has exceptions for programs like work study, student learner, or apprenticeships, where employment is procured and supervised by schools or by a federal or state monitored apprenticeship program. Similarly, the federal government does not require work permits or proof of age certificates for a minor to be employed. Under SB 2711, the relevant work-based learning experiences are official school and DOE programs, which provide ample oversight and protections, and CTE programs of study already include coursework and multiple iterations of safety training. We humbly request for the bill to move forward with amendments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Next to testify, Trevor Arbazua for the Chamber of Commerce, Hawaii. Trevor, please.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Trevor Arbazua, Chamber of Commerce, Hawaii. We stand in support of SB 2711. After hearing from a lot of our business community that are wanting to participate in work-based learning and internship programs, there's just a lot of red tape in the way currently, and this bill would help fix that. And I echo a lot of David's testimony, and we stand in support. Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor. Members, that concludes the oral testimony. Are there any questions for our testifiers? Any questions? Director Estacchio,
Yes, Chair.
can you go over your testimony one more time and be clear on the reasons you oppose this?
Yes, so in the current statutes do not prohibit what they want the outcomes to be, where these individuals who are minors can perform services with the exceptions that they're proposing. What it does still require, though, is the employers to get work permits. So a registration and a permit. And individuals who are under the age of 16, so 15 and 14, there will still be limitations on the hours that they work. So there would still be some oversight for these minors, but they could perform the services that this exception wants them to perform, as the statutes are currently.
And how long does it take to get the permit required?
I can have our wage standards division answer that question. Yeah, so they're saying that you can get that permit the same day that you come in for it. Yeah, or you could do it online, Chair.
Thank you for that. Members, further questions?
Thank
Yes.
you.
Senator Chair Taniguchi, please.
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick question for Anne. I guess in reviewing the bill, I guess my staff felt that the language as currently drafted exempts all these vocational apprenticeship programs from all child labor laws. And so I think what we wanted to do was kind of make amendments so that we can place the vocational apprenticeships within the child labor laws and still have basically the bill that we have now. Is that your understanding?
That's correct, Chair. It would
Okay.
accept all child labor laws for all minors that perform under that program.
Right.
Our concern is that the statute allows them to perform this service now.
So if we made that amendment, I think, would you be willing to withdraw your opposition, I guess?
Could you explain the amendment to me again? Sorry, Chair.
Would amend the definition of youth vocational training program or internship in HRS 390-1, and would also amend to insert a new subsection to HRS 390-2 for youth vocational training programs or internships, apprentices validated under federal or state law, and minors who complete a vocational or career education program approved by the DOE.
So you would remove the requirement for registration and permits and to oversee the hours of minors under 16?
Correct.
Then it would take away the protections that we so value as the Department of Labor to make sure minors are protected. It does not mean that they cannot perform these services.
Yes, we would want to place the vocational apprenticeships within the child labor laws so that we wouldn't be exempting these apprenticeships from all child labor laws.
Right, so that would be, I guess, a policy call there on whether you wanted to remove the requirement for just the apprentice program, that they would not have to be permitted or register. And those under the age of 16, their hours would not be monitored or regulated.
I thought we sent you a draft, did we not?
I don't know if that's right, Bill. No, Chair, I'm sorry, we did not, we're not aware of the draft.
Okay, sorry, we should have done that. Okay.
So, Chair, we would be in favor if it did not remove the requirement for a permit or a certificate, and that those under the age of 16, there would be oversight of the hours that they work.
Okay, we'll try to draft something along those lines then.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Further discussion? Okay, moving on to,
That's it.
oh, that was only two bills here. Can you go into the breakout room, please? Recess. Convening the committees on education and labor, culture, and the arts. The recommendation of the chairs will be to pass out Senate Bill 3092 relating to commercial enterprises in schools to pass as is. Chair votes aye.
The recommendation is to pass out Senate Bill 3092 unamended. The chair votes aye. Vice chair votes aye. Senator De La Cruz.
Aye.
Senator Kanuha.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
All members present voting in the affirmative, recommendations adopted.
Thank you. And for Committee on Labor, Culture, and Arts, Chair.
Same recommendation, Senator Ihara.
We're voting on, for members of the Committee on Labor, Culture, and the Arts, we're voting on the chair's recommendation to pass Senate Bill 3092 unamended. Chair Taniguchi.
Aye.
Senator Ihara, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Chang.
Aye.
Senator Keokalole.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Recommendations adopted.
Thank you. And for Senate Bill 2711 relating to education, after the discussion, the recommendations of the chair is to pass with amendments. Amendments would be to remove the youth vocational training program or internship from the exceptions subsection. Add that instead as a definition under 390-1. Also add youth vocational training or internship as defined under 390-1 as an allowable employment opportunity under 390-2. And 4, we will defect the date to July 1, 2050 for further discussion as we move it on to the next committee. And we also have a couple technical and non-substantive amendments. Members, questions? If not, recommendation is to pass 2711 with amendments. Chair of Education votes aye.
Chair of Education votes aye on Senate Bill 2711 to pass with amendments. Vice Chair votes aye. Any members, Senator De La Cruz, Kanuha, Favela voting with reservations or in opposition? Hearing none, all 5 members vote in the affirmative.
Thank you. And for the Committee on Labor, Culture, and Arts, Chair.
Thank you. Same recommendation, Senator Ihara.
Any reservations, objections to the chair's recommendation to pass Senate Bill 2711 with amendments? Hearing none, the recommendation is adopted with all members present.
Thank you. That concludes this hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We are convening the committees on education and committee on higher education. It's Friday, February 11th, 3:15 p.m. We are in conference room 229. First on our agenda is Senate Bill 2142. My committee members are to my right, Senator Donna Mercado Kim, my vice chair, and online I have Senators Favela and Donovan De La Cruz, and to my left, I have Senator Drew Kanuha.
And for the Higher Education Committee, myself as chair, my vice chair is Senator Kidani. On Zoom, I have Senator Favela, and I thought I saw Senator Wakai, but I'm sure he'll join us later. Thank you.
All right. So starting with Senate Bill 2142 relating to computer science allows Department of Education students to fulfill world language, fine arts, or career and technical education graduation requirements with computer science. establishes a scholarship at the University of Hawaii to encourage students majoring in education to take a computer science course, requires UH to establish computer science pathways for students majoring in education, requires teacher licensing and certification to include computer science, and appropriates funds. First to testify, Interim Superintendent Keith Hayashi. It's been a long week.
Good afternoon, chairs and vice chairs, Kidani and Mercado Kim, and members of the committee. I'm Terry Ushijima, Interim Assistant Superintendent with the Department of Education, testifying on behalf of Interim Superintendent Keith Hayashi. The State Department of Education supports the intent of SB 2142 and respectfully offers comments on this measure relating to computer science. The department supports a measure to allow computer science to fulfill up to 2 credits of world language, fine arts, and career technical education as part of the high school diploma credits. However, the department considers computer science as a separate subject area from those subjects mentioned earlier, and believes that adding computer science to the list of subject area options may be more appropriate than as a replacement. In addition, the department will need to seek approval from the Hawaii State Board of Education to revise the graduation requirements and request that the implementation date be extended to school year 2023 to 2024, or the graduating class of.
Thank you, Terry, for your testimony. Moving on, Yvonne Lau, Interim Executive Director for Hawaii State Public Charter School Commission. Yvonne, please.
Not present, Chair.
Thank you. In support. Nathan Murata, Dean, College of Education. Dean
Good
Murata.
afternoon. Oh, hi. Good afternoon, Chair Kidani, Chair Kim, and members of committee. Nathan Murata, Dean for the College of Education at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. We're in support of the intent of SB 2142 relating to computer science. The University of Hawaii College of Ed offers comments within our written testimony, and I'll be available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dean Murata. Osatui Jr., President, HSTA.
Aloha, Laverne Moore, speaking on behalf of Osa Tui Jr., President of the Hawaii State Teachers Association. While HSD supports this bill and its goals, we respectfully request one amendment to the bill. Under Section 5 of the bill, on page 6, line 9, cross out the word include and insert offer, for we don't believe curriculum requirements should necessarily be set in statute, but instead offering them at the university to provide incentives and opportunities for our students and teachers in Hawaii to excel in computer science. The HSD asks your committee to support this bill. Mahalo.
Thank you, Laverne. Kate Hendricks, President, testifying for code.org.
Not present, Chair.
Thank you. Celeste Endo, individual. Celeste there.
Aloha, Alina La, Chair Kidani, Chair Mercado Kim, and members of the Education and Higher Education Committees. As a computer science teacher here at Queen Ka'ahumanu Elementary and a parent with a son at Kalani High and daughter at UH Manoa, I encourage your support of SB 2142. My son, from a very early age, showed a keen sense of creativity. He would tinker with Legos and as a toddler would imaginatively build all kinds of intricate Lego designs, just like yours at home. He learned coding and robotics in elementary, yet when he got to middle school, didn't have computer science experiences. At Kalani, he is learning computer science, yet doesn't feel confident to continue after this year. We can close these huge ladder gaps in learning computer science by providing pathways and incentives for pre-service teachers and Hawaii high school students. Mahalo for your consideration. Now is the time. Let's go Hawaii.
Wow, that's the most exuberant testimony I've heard in such a long time. Thank you so much, Celeste. And thank you for being a teacher. That concludes our oral testimony, and we have 23 testimonies, all in support or offering comments. Moving on, Senate Bill 23.
Any questions?
Oh, sorry, any questions?
I do.
If you're late for your plane, it's her fault. Any questions?
So Dean Murata?
Yes.
Hi, I just wanted to ask you, I know you provided comments, but
Yes.
do you feel that this bill or any bills of this nature is meddling into UH and we're trying to take over the role of the Board of Regents?
No, I don't think it's, I wouldn't consider it meddling. I think that we are very serious about, we have faculty that are actually working on creating and have collaborated already with ITS and CS on developing computer science tracks and add a field for licensure already. So we've been, focusing on this particular area for quite some time already.
Okay, so as long as you guys agree with what it is we propose, then it's not meddling. But if you guys don't agree, then it's meddling.
No, I think we're fine with this particular bill.
Okay, no, I'm trying to make a point here because when UH agrees with something, then we're not meddling. But if we put in things that you guys don't agree with, then we're meddling, we're overstepping, we don't know any better. And why are we telling the university what to do? So I'm just trying to get some consistency here because, it's very frustrating for us, especially when these recommendations come from the university themselves. We put it into a bill, then we get accused of, overstepping our boundaries, going over the Constitution or the constitutional, whatever that the union state. So I just want to make sure that as you guys come forward, that you guys are consistent.
Yes, and in addition to myself, the Provost Bruno has also.
I see that, and that's another reason why I bring it up, but thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? Not. Thank you for the testimony. Moving on to Senate Bill 2359 relating to the University of Hawaii.
I think I have the lead on that, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Okay, we will start with Keith Hayashi, Superintendent. This requires the University of Hawaii to establish in each county K-12 expanded teaching cohort programs for students who are pursuing undergraduate degrees in education. Requires interim reports prior to the regular session of 2023, 2024, 2025, and a final report prior to the regular session of 2026, and repeals 12/31/26. Superintendent.
Good afternoon, Chair Kidani, Chair Mercado Kim, and members of the committee. Sean Bacon, Interim Assistant Superintendent for the Office of Talent Management, testifying on behalf of Interim Superintendent Keith Hayashi and the Hawaii State Department of Education. The department supports this measure and sees this as an additional avenue through which we can increase our teacher workforce. Thank you for your support and the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Next is Laverne Moore from HSTA.
Aloha. Laverne Moore speaking on behalf of Osa Tui, President of HSD. Certainly, our aspiring teachers need more support with respect to availability of courses throughout the UH system, particularly on the neighbor islands. It should also be noted that the existing Grow Your Own program could be expanded to perhaps reach the same goal. HSTA feels it's important to point out that at the heart of our teacher recruitment and retention difficulties is the fact that teachers in Hawaii are dramatically underpaid when cost of living is factored in, with many taking second and third jobs. To provide a more structural support for teachers and aspiring teachers in Hawaii, the Hawaii State Teachers Association asks your committee to support this bill. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Laverne. And Nathan Murata from the University of Hawaii.
Good afternoon, Chair Kidani, Chair Kim, and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of SB 2359 relating to the university system to establish in each county a K-12 expanded teaching cohort programs for students who are pursuing undergraduate degrees in education. We do stand by written testimony, and I am available for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That is all that we have that is testifying via Zoom or in writing. So with that, members, any questions? Again, Dean Murata, just want to get this on the record. So this measure requires the university to establish in each county K-12 expanded teaching cohort programs, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and so you guys are okay with us requiring you guys to do that?
We are anticipating getting out to the neighbor islands as part of our
Okay.
strategic plan. Yes,
Okay, so we're not meddling, right?
you are not meddling, Senator.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You can expect that question from me consistently from now on.
Actually, I do have a question.
Okay. Senator
Does
Kidani.
this, yeah, does this bill allow the expansion to be through that Grow Our Own program?
No, the Grow Our Own is, well, I mean, we'd love to expand the program, correct? Yes. But we use the Grow Our Own as the catalyst as to how we can then promote the recruitment on neighbor islands with our potential candidates there. So,
Okay, but are you saying that this bill would require separate funds then?
yes,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And the funding would come from, is there a funding mechanism or where does the funding come from?
that is yet to be determined.
By whom? By the university, by the
I don't think.
Well,
legislature, by? who?
at this point, I believe it's the legislature.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, but there's no money in this bill, right? Is there money in this bill? I don't see any, I don't see any funding mechanism or money in
Yeah,
it.
this one has to move on to WAM, so maybe
have
before
to
it gets to
address.
Ways and Means, Dean Murata, if you want to let Chair Kim know what you think would be the required amount for this, it would be helpful so that we can try and get the funding.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it. Then Senator, I'll turn it back over to you, Senator Kidani.
Okay, so we're now on Senate Bill 2636 relating to civil rights. Specifies additional forms of discrimination and other prohibited conduct under Chapter 368D HRS. Requires covered entities to adopt written policies and undertake other specified enforcement actions no later than 1/1/23. Requires annual reports to the legislature. To testify, Laurie Tanigawa, Deputy Attorney General, please.
Good afternoon, Laurie Tanigawa, Deputy Attorney General. The department submitted its written comments, which we appreciate the committee's consideration of, and I'm available if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurie. Interim Superintendent Hayashi, please.
Good afternoon, Chair Kidani, Chair Mercado Kim, and members of the committee. Sean Bacon, Interim Assistant Superintendent of the Office of Talent Management, testifying on behalf of Superintendent Hayashi and the Department of Education. The department stands on its written testimony, providing comments on this measure. We thank you for the opportunity to testify, and I stand by ready for any questions.
Thank you, Sean. Next to testify, Yvonne Lau, Interim Executive Director of Hawaii State Public Charter School Commission.
Not present, Chair.
Thank you. Testimony and support. Next, Jan Govea, Vice President for Administration, University of Hawaii.
Good afternoon, Chairs Kidani and Donna Mercado Kim. This is Jennifer Rose on behalf of the University of Hawaii. We stand on a written testimony in support of the intent of this bill, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next, William Hoshio, Chair, Hawaii Civil Rights Commission.
Aloha Chair Kidani and Chair Mercado Kim and members. Bill Hoshijo presenting the testimony of the HCRC in support of Senate Bill 2636. The Biden administration, US DOE, has made a commitment to interpret Title IX's prohibition against discrimination on the basis of sex to include discrimination in the form of sexual harassment, including sexual violence, and to include discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. This reverses the Trump administration US DOE regulations, undercutting such protections. This shifting federal US DOE interpretation of Title IX protections highlights the need for strong state law in this area. The state law should expressly prohibit discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, as it does in our other state civil rights statutes. I'd like to call your attention to the amended section, HRS section 360.
Thank you, Bill. Next to testify, Yongi Overly, Policy Chair for AAUW of Hawaii.
Good afternoon, Chair, and members of the committee. Thank you for this opportunity to testify in strong support of SB 2636. I stand on our written testimony, but want to take a minute to express a concern. During the hearings of House Bill 1775, DOE and UH expressed the concerns regarding the expansion of the definition. I request that you consider the risk of not expanding the definition. With the limited definition of what sexual harassment is under the new Title IX rules, we risk many sexual harassment reports being thrown out. I sent you, Chair Kidani and Chair Kim, an email with additional information on California Senate Bill 493, which is an example of a potential compromise. Mahalo for your consideration, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Yongi. Next to testify, Lynn Costales Matsuoka, Associate Director for Sex Abuse Treatment Center.
Not present, Chair.
Thank you. Next to testify, Yongi Overly as an individual.
It's the same. I won't take another minute.
Thank you very much, Yongi. That concludes our oral testifiers. We do have a number of written testimony, mostly in support and a couple with comments. Next item, I believe, is yours, Chair Kim.
I have a question on.
Oh, sorry, questions?
From University of Hawaii.
Hello, Chair.
Hi. Can the university do this now? Do you need this measure?
Can we do, are we able to implement it?
Right.
Is that the question, or?
Right. Can the university do this? It requires covered entities to adopt written policies and undertake other specified enforcement actions no later than January 1, 2023. So are you folks able to do this without any kind of legislation?
Yes, we are. We have policies in place, so we are able to, if the question is around policies and procedures or notification of Title IX rights, we are doing that already. We have the capability.
Okay. I'm asking because I don't know why you folks don't do it. I mean, why do we need a measure and a bill to force you to do something when you already have that ability to do that?
Oh, I think that we have actually been working, closely with, the Women's Legislative Caucus and the legislature over the years because we all care about Title IX and we share the same goals. So I'm not sure as far as, the why, the question of why it has to be done. I think that, there has been some concern around reporting requirements, and I understand them. But the policies are there, and I understand that there are always external stakeholders, who care deeply to ensure that Title IX is being implemented, in its true spirit and intent. So I'm not sure if that answers your question properly, but.
Well, I'm just concerned because I've heard from the Women's Caucus, I've heard from representatives who have met with UH and feel that they have not acted timely. They've dragged their feet on this. They have consistently asked for updates as to what's going on, which is why we have this kind of measure in this bill when they're not doing it. And again, it bothers me that I consistently hear that we shouldn't be meddling and we shouldn't be interfering, and yet you guys don't act timely. And so when we do exercise our oversight, but these are areas that you folks can do already. So I'm not sure why you're not, taking on the responsibility and then force us to have to implement statutes like this.
I would say that, respectfully, I don't feel that there has been dragging of feet in terms of updates. I think in terms of, being transparent about reporting and how we are doing, there's some of that that's listed in the testimony, transparency around the prevalence and ensuring that students are aware of their rights. I think those are data points that we have always shared and that we actually welcome, the legislature and external stakeholders, the community members, to have more conversations about how we can improve programming. But so I think it is I understand your question. It is really broad, and I'm speaking as to the policies and the specific meat of what the bill, which I understand is around legislating a policy and also reporting requirements. So I think from my own experience, I feel like that commitment has been there and that there hasn't been any hiding. And I always welcome, I feel that I have had a very strong relationship with the Women's Legislative Caucus, and I always welcome more, collaborative work to effectuate something that it is so important. I mean, particularly in the 50th year of Title IX. So I mean, if there's anything specific, I'm hoping I'm answering your question, but if there's anything specific, I mean,
okay, I appreciate your answer, but I'm just sharing with you that I got a visit from a key member of the Women's Caucus specifically about this issue, specifically about having met with the university and that having them drag their feet. And I was asked as the chair of higher education to see that we can't get more action from the university. And it just bothers me that we have to take these kinds of measures. And when we do, then we get criticized for meddling, which is our oversight. So I think you should talk more closely with some of the representatives in the Women's Caucus and with the University of Hawaii, because they actually met with the president. And that's why I got the call, or I got the visit. So I am speaking directly from them. And I just raised these concerns. So thank you very much for being here.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, further questions? If not, moving on, and the next one is actually my bill, Senate Bill 214, relating to student journalism, establishes freedom of press protections for student journalists producing school-sponsored media or university-sponsored media unless subject to certain exceptions. To testify, Interim Superintendent Kikayashi, please.
Good afternoon, Chairs Kidani and Mercado Kim, members of the committee. Here, I'm Terry Ushijima, again, Interim Assistant Superintendent, testifying on behalf of Interim Superintendent Keith Hayashi. We stand on our written testimony and respectfully offer comments on SB 214. The Department of Education strongly values student voice and encourages students to be fully engaged in their own learning, including civic engagement. The Board of Education currently has two policies that directly address this topic of the bill: Board of Ed Policy 101-1 Student Code of Conduct and Board of Ed Policy 101-9 School-Sponsored Student Publications. So given the expanded opportunities to promote student agency, it's critical that all schools continue to balance the intellectual and social development of their students with freedom of expression. Thank you for this opportunity to testify on SB 214.
Thank you, Terry. Next, Laurie Tanigawa, Deputy Attorney General.
Good afternoon, Lori Tanagawa, Deputy Attorney General. The department submitted its written comments, which we appreciate these committees' consideration of, and I'm available if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurie. Next, Osa Tui Jr., President, testifying for HSTA.
Laverne Moore, speaking on behalf of Osa Tui Jr., President of Hawaii State Teachers Association. The association supports Senate Bill 214 relating to student journalism, for it gives them additional protection against censorship, and advisors need additional protection against retaliation for refusing to illegally censor student journalists. The Board of Ed has a policy regarding this issue. Policy is a frame for achieving certain goals. This law sets standards, principles, and procedures that must be followed in Hawaii in regard to student journalism and implements justice in our society. Hawaii needs a law that protects the First Amendment rights of student journalists and allows them the real-world learning that comes from making the decisions that must be made to produce a student-run newspaper. We support this. We urge you to support it too. Mahalo.
Thank you, Laverne. Next to testify, Hillary Davis, testifying for Student Press Law Center. Hillary Davis.
Not present,
My
Chair.
apologies. No, I am present. I apologize. I appear to be unable to start my video. There we go. Hillary Davis with the Student Press Law Center in Washington, D.C. We've submitted our written testimony, and I am here to urge your strong support of the bill, but mostly to answer any questions that you may have about the bill, about how it's received in other states, and any of the technical questions that you may have. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Hillary. Next to testify, Cynthia Rees, individual.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of SB 214. My name is Cindy Reeves. I'm in my 10th year advising McKinley High School student newspaper. Those of you who were on this committee in spring 2020 might remember passing a version of this bill. It died in its sixth and final committee because COVID hit. This year, you will see and hear testimony from a different set of students. Students who have taken on the task to, among other things, tell the community how their school is coping with a pandemic. A principal leery of bad press might find a way to kill such stories. Current law and policy make censorship pretty easy. Is this the environment we want our young people learning in? Hawaii is not alone in this pursuit. New Jersey just became the 15th state to pass similar legislation. I ask that today, like in spring 2020, you pass this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Next to testify, Jerome Lanier Owens, please.
My name is Jerome Lanier, speaking in support of SB 2114. I am in my second year as a journalist at McKinley High School. In news writing class, I've been taught press law, news value, and journalism ethics. We are very lucky at McKinley that our principal and our advisor understand and want to help us grow as journalists. Even if they don't agree or like what we write, so as long as we do it ethically. But that's here at McKinley. I want all student journalists protected. Schools are supposed to help prepare students for the future. How is letting administrators censor articles that they don't agree with helping our future journalists? This bill will create better education and better democracy. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome. Next to testify, Shane Kaneshiro. Shane Kaneshiro, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
proceed.
so thank you, committee, for letting me testify today. My name is Shane Kaneshiro, and I am in my second year as a student journalist at McKinney High School. I support Senate Bill 214. The opinion is currently 101 years old. Student journalists in the past have written about major historical events. They wrote about the truth from a student's perspective. We're doing that now too, even if it's controversial. Last year, I wrote an article about the resolution to change the name of McKinley High School. I'm proud of that article, and I learned a lot too. Our current laws would allow a principal to censor such an article because it's too controversial. Luckily, our principal does not do that. However, this might be true for at other schools. That's why this law matters. Please support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. That concludes the oral testimony. We had a number of written testimonies, all in support or with comments. Members, questions?
Oh, yeah, I have a question.
For
one of the students, either Shane or Jerome. So if in fact you write an article that not so much controversial, but could be infringing on another student's rights or say a faculty rights, who in this bill would then be able to decide that? I mean, who decides whether or not that article could be written? Is it explicit in the bill? I mean, is there any checks and balances?
So for our staff, we have an advisor who always looks over our articles. And in the beginning of the year, we always revisit the laws of journalism. We make sure that we don't harm another person. And with an advisor, it's an extra step of precaution that was protect other students. We generally do not write about bringing somebody down, especially another student.
But what happens if a reporter gets zealous and do write something like that? Can then the advisor make the decision that you're not allowed to print it or publish it?
Well, so what happens at our school? We always look at each other's work. We never, if somebody comes up with something that's, this never happened before at ours, because we always look over each other and we always share ideas.
But what if that does happen? Then does the advisor have that right under this bill to then either have you change some of the things in the article or?
So advisors is just their, they would tell us not to write about it. It's not like the principal would censor it, because the principal would just censor it even though we've written it. Right. We usually have to tell the advisor what we're writing before we can even write it or even publish it.
Okay, the advisor would have that ability to do that.
Yes,
Jerome,
just
did you have? Okay, Jerome, did you have something to say? Jerome, you had something to say?
We know about the laws of the, yeah.
Okay, but I mean, even adults know the laws and they break it sometimes. So
yeah,
I'm just wondering, to make sure that that other students don't get violated.
We have an advisor.
Process. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions, members? Thank you. That concludes the bills in this agenda. We're going to recess.
Okay.
Reconvening the committees on education and higher education. For Senate Bill 2142, recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments, taking the amendments offered by Charter School Commission to clearly include the public charter schools and their teachers. And we will also defect the date to July 1, 2050. To pass 2142 with amendments, chair votes aye.
Chair's recommendation for the Committee on Education on SB 2142 is to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye. Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Dela Cruz.
Aye.
I vote aye. Senator Favela.
Reservations.
Reservations for Senator Favela. Chair, you have 5 ayes. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. And the
Okay,
next one,
for
Joe.
Senate Bill 2359, The recommendation is.
2142.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have to vote, our committee has to vote on 2142 as well. It's Friday afternoon. I don't know what chair wants to have a hearing on Friday.
Good thing Drew is here.
Same recommendation for higher education on 2142 to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Chair's recommendation for higher education on SB 2142 is to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair Kidani.
Aye.
Senator Keith Agaran is excused. Senator Wakai is excused. Senator Favela.
Reservation.
Reservations for Senator Favela. Chair, you have 3 ayes and 2 excused. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. That's why we're having Senator Kanuha take the vote, because both myself and Senator Kidani have to take it for each other, and it gets very confusing at this point. Okay, we are now on Senate Bill 2359, which I tried to vote on earlier. The recommendation is to amend with technical and non-substantive amendments and to put into the committee report because there is no appropriation in this bill. And so in order to implement it, they may need an appropriation, and it does go on to Ways and Means. And we do have our Ways and Means chair here. And so we will put that in the committee report. So any discussion? If not, chair votes aye.
For the Committee on Higher Education on SB 2359, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting the excused from Senator Keith Agaran and Senator Wakai. 3 other members present. Are there any with reservations? Any in opposition? Chair, you have 3 ayes to excuse. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for the Committee on Education, same recommendation. Chair votes aye.
On the Committee on Education, Chair's recommendation as SB 2359 is to pass with amendments. Noting all 5 members present, any with reservations, any in opposition. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to Senate Bill 2636 relating to civil rights. Recommendation of the chair is going to be passed with amendments. We're going to insert amendments to match the House Draft 2 of this bill's companion, which is HB 1775, and also to add some technical and non-substantive amendments. Members, questions? If not, chair votes aye.
Chair's recommendation for the Committee on Education on SB 2636 is to pass with amendments, noting all 5 members present. Are there any with reservations? Any in opposition? 5 ayes, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
And for the Committee on Higher Education, Senate Bill 2636, same recommendation, passed with amendments. Discussion? Hearing none, chair votes aye.
Chair's recommendation for the Committee on Higher Education on SB 2636 is to pass with amendments, noting 3 members present and Senator Keith Agaran and Wakai excuse. Are there any reservations? Any opposition? Chair, 3 ayes, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for the final bill, Senate Bill 214, relating to student journalism, the recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments, taking the amendments from the Attorney General's testimony to correct a typo on page 3, line 3, and page 7, line 5. Also taking the amendments from Office of Information Practices to clarify issues of privacy and also to defect the date to July 1, 2050. Chair votes aye.
On the Committee on Education, Chair's recommendation on SB 214 is to pass with amendments, noting all 5 members present, any with reservations, any in opposition. Chair, 5 ayes, your recommendation is adopted.
For the Higher Education Committee, Senate Bill 214, same recommendations passed with amendments. Discussion? Hearing none, chair votes aye.
Chair's recommendation on Committee on Higher Education, SB 214, is to pass with amendments, noting Senator Keith Agaran and Senator Wakai as excused. Other 3 members present, any with reservations, any in opposition. Chair, 3 ayes, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. And that concludes this agenda.
You have one more?
Yes. Thank you for joining us. This is the Committee on Education, Friday, February 11th, 2022, 3:30 p.m., conference room 229. And I'd like to take this time to remind our testifiers that due to time restrictions on our hearings, we will be limiting testimony to 1 minute per testifier per bill. Thank you. First bill, Senate Bill 3296 relating to sports, designates sports as being co-curricular activities, requires the Department of Education to submit a report on the cost of implementing sports as co-curricular activities. To testify, Intern Superintendent Hayashi, please.
Good afternoon again, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Makoto Kim, and members of the committee. Terry Ushijima, Interim Assistant Superintendent for the Office of Curriculum Instructional Design, testifying on behalf of Interim Superintendent Keith Hayashi and the Hawaii State Department of Education. The department stands on our written testimony providing comments on this measure. The department agrees that there are benefits to participating in athletic activities, but would defer to the various athletic leagues and HHSAA for particular definitions to least impact the decisions related to competitions. Thank you for your support and for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Terry. Next to testify, Chris Chun, Executive Director, Hawaii High School Athletic Association.
Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Kim, committee members, thank you for considering my testimony. In addition to what was submitted, I would like to add the following. I was able to reach out to the other 49 state high school athletic associations and inquire how high school athletics are characterized in their states. And I did get responses from 39 of them. Only 4 of them use the term co-curricular when describing high school athletics. However, in all 4 of these states, this is for semantics only. They're still treated like and considered as an extracurricular activity, even in these states. Most states that use the term extracurricular are extremely wary of using co-curricular when referring to high school athletics for the reasons outlined in my written testimony. As to the remaining 10 states, I did not receive a response from them, but the National Federation of High Schools does not know of any states that offer state championships where athletics is part of the curriculum. If you have any questions, I would be happy to do my best to answer, but that is why I offer my position in opposition to this bill.
Thank you, Chris. Next to testify, Kevin Chang.
Not present, Chair.
Gary Okuda.
Thank you very much, Chair Kidani. This is Gary Okuda. I would like to add to my written testimony, and I'm speaking only as an individual. Even though I've served 5 years on the State Land Use Commission and I'm finishing up my last 3 years of my term, I've learned one thing. We in government, we've got to keep an open mind. We've got to stop saying we can't do it because it can't be done, or it's never been done that way, or you know what, it's something outside of what we normally do in our kuleana. Frankly speaking, we in government should welcome criticisms, even if it might hurt our feelings, even if it might be considered meddling. What this bill does is just a little short step in trying to reach students who this pandemic have left behind. Athletics creates learning opportunities, and that should be incorporated by the Department of Education. We need to do things differently in this community. We're truly faced with a situation.
Thank you, Gary, for your testimony. Next to testify, Pomaikai Keawe. You're muted.
Kalamai. In an article that was published by the NFHS, which Chris just mentioned, it's an organization that our coaches are currently required to receive training from. Executive Director Dr. Niehoff outlined the importance of education-based athletics, traditionally referred to as extracurricular. She stated that students' involvement in these programs is connected to education in the classroom. And the term co-curricular makes a huge difference in connecting activities to the classroom and supporting the concept of education-based activities. Completing that process through these activities, students learn teamwork, fair play, self-discipline, and how to handle competitive situations. They also promote mental and emotional health and wellness. The schools have been urged by the NFHS to recognize that they're a crucial part of the overall education process and to be called co-curricular. As our elected representatives, I urge you to help us offer a gentle nudge to our leaders to support this bill and change our look on statewide high school athletic programs.
Thank you, Pumaikai. Next to testify, Everett Williams.
Not present, Chair.
Thank you. Next to testify, Brandon Keenan.
Thank you. I'd like to take the opportunity to extend a welcome to the chair and the vice chair, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. A couple things I'd just like to hit on. I was going to go over my own learning experiences with athletic and how I went from high school athletics into the Marine Corps and how all those challenging situations taught me lessons and also helped me strive to be the person I am today. I just want to say that this thing that we're proposing is already being done at Punahou and most, if not all, the private schools here on the island. And if we want what's best in our public schools to have the same opportunities as the youth in private school, then we're not reinventing the wheel. We don't have to figure this out over again. There's more than 50% of the students here in Hawaii are athletes. So that's the impact it's going to have. And we don't have to follow other states. Here in Hawaii, we're known for setting the example for the rest of the other states in other areas. Why not this one? Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Next to testify, David Tautofi. David, you're muted.
It's Kavika now. I think you had it on Kavika Kane. Sorry.
Aloha, Chair and Vice Chair. Thank you for this opportunity to testify. I would like to echo what was just shared by Mr. Keenan in that other private schools are already doing this. In addition to higher education, colleges and universities are providing credit for those participating in collegiate sports. So with that said, as a high school coach, official, referee, and also as a member of the community, participating with student athletes getting ready for their National Letter of Signing Intent Day, I like to express that not only are they learning the teamwork and self-discipline and life skills, but they're learning citizenship. Citizenship requires yielding to authority, following directions, working in a team environment, leadership in leading their peers, taking on responsibility from coaches to lead the team. So I'd like to add to my
Thank you, David, Connie. David Tatofi.
Hello, Chair. Hello, Vice Chair. Thank you guys for the opportunity. This discussion of what we're having with this bill wouldn't be here if it wasn't for this pandemic. This entire time this pandemic has gone on, we have moved in the most unusual ways, done the most unusual things, and we've justified that because of this pandemic and because of this unknown situation. The one group of people that's been left behind entirely has been our kids. And in this sense, we're the first state to actually put our kids up to be sacrificed as the first group of people to be mandated and vaccinated. And it's just trying to bring up the idea of like, what is our priorities? And so this focus is really on education, educating the kids. This is education in sports, not of sports. When it comes to competition, that naturally comes. But that's not the most important part. The most important part of this is an opportunity to really help them mature our kids and to give them a chance to prepare them to be the good citizens that they are. But this is focused on.
Thank you, David. Next to testify, Zach Odom.
Not present, Chair.
Daniel Rich.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, committee for hearing my testimony and adding to it. Two coaches, Coach Taylor and Coach Taylor. One broke my life, one repaired my life. The one was when I was 10, the other one was a high school coach. The way they walked alongside me and modeled life, and life to a full was amazing. And it's a moment where kids put their phones down. They listen to their kupuna. And right now that is being stewarded by a lot of men and women who are giving very little bit of their time, their extra, their sloppies. And if we went forward with this, we could actually focus on curriculum, a change in the culture of sport here, a change in expectations and boundaries set by coaches that would increase the quality of education throughout the school completely. And for many of our young athletes that will go into blue collar jobs. So this is a significant change in our mindset. That's very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Next to testify, Asai Gilman.
Aloha kako. I'm in support of this bill. The focus should be, as mentioned by Coach David Tatofi, education in sports and not education of sports. My name is Coach Asai Gilman. I ran a successful education first, not-for-profit organization for many years as an executive director. Helped 6,000 families or more. I have 7 children. 5 of those 7 children participated in high school sports. As a former college football coach with a lot of years in coaching and high school sports, I taught principles of character and leadership skills for purpose of building the whole person. Extracurricular means education of sports. This means that sports is only taught for winning. I view education in sports as a co-curricular. This means it's not just about winning. It's about developing the whole person in the classroom. The field and the court is the classroom. I have a son who plays football in the NFL. He would tell you that the sport doesn't define him, and it's not of him. What he would tell you that it defines him by what he is right now. He's the whole person. This bill is not replacing.
Thank you, Asai. Next to testify, Darren Ogino.
Aloha, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Mercado Kim, and members of the committee. My name is Darren Ogino. I do not belong to any education association, nor do I have any experience with legislation. I am a former public school athlete and a 1997 grad from Kamiki High School. Today, I'm adding to my written testimony. And I also run several successful small businesses on the island of Oahu. I'm speaking in support of Senate Bill 3296. I attribute much of my success in business and success as a supporting husband and father from the lessons I've learned on the field and the court. Running a business is just like playing sports. It challenges your mental toughness. You learn how to humbly win, and you learn to lose with grace. You learn to adapt and strategize. It requires you to work as a team to accomplish a common goal. There are many more skills learned from the sports that become life skills. These essential skills should be a part of one's curriculum. Mahalo for your consideration.
Thank you, Darren. Members, that concludes the oral testimony, but we do have a number of written testimonies, mostly in support. Members, are there any questions of the testifiers?
I have questions. Okay, I'm not sure who even to ask this question of, perhaps to Department of Education.
Terry Ushijima, please.
Yes, I'm here, Vice Chair.
So there are some issues raised in the Hawaii High School Athletic Association's testimony regarding if signed into law, this bill would create a ripple effect of other school-based activities falling under the same co-curricular designation, including student government, service clubs, speech, debate, music, arts, driver's education, among others. So that's the first. Can you comment on that?
So yes, actually, when we take a look at our existing policies, our policies do not state explicitly differences between co-curricular and extracurricular. They are often used interchangeably. The policy that we did include in our testimony provided information on student activities. So I'm not sure exactly what other ripple effects, but currently students who do participate in those activities that are related to coursework, they do participate, and depending on what the activity is, there are requirements like the a 2.0 grade point average that they need to be passing in their courses.
So how does this bill change current practice?
So it depends, I think, on, we have questions also about what exactly the bill is trying to do. If they're trying to say that the athletics should and competition should become part of the curriculum as something that is graded, that would have a lot of implications. And currently, if we are to continue to look at the co-curricular activities and the extracurricular activities, we would need to, I think, clarify some of our language further. And if anything, I think this bill has raised that to our attention.
Would this bill affect the way the teams are selected, the way you try out for certain teams? And if students don't make the team, will this bill, if I read the testimony correctly, would make it where every single student would be allowed to be on a team?
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't have an opportunity to read their testimony, and we definitely will read it. But based on what we know about the bill as it is written, we also have questions. So I'm sorry, that something that we would have to think about and look into further.
Okay, so can I ask, Madam Chair, if I can continue on?
Yes, please.
Can I ask the HHSAA representative who spoke, Christopher Chun?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so I believe that's your testimony that I'm looking at. And so that question that I asked would, and I think you talk about that in your testimony, then it will no longer be competitive, that it's like a class, any person signing up or wanting to select that as a curriculum would be, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but generally, from my understanding in regards to public school education, and when you make something part of the curriculum, that it becomes part of the curriculum. So if a student signs up for it, that would be a kind of a requirement. So I wouldn't know why the Senate is trying to kind of put this forward, because I wouldn't understand the ramifications if that means that student makes the team, that student has to have equal playing time, whether that's safe or not, that kind of thing. So I'm kind of confused too as to what's the need for this, because it seems like high school athletics in Hawaii and everywhere else has positively impacted everyone, including all the testifiers here today, currently as an extracurricular activity.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And to continue with the question for Chris, you know, your testimony asserted that coaches will not be able to hold students liable for breaking rules because they will have the right to play. Where do you get that interpretation from?
So all the court jurisdictions, there's a lot of court cases that state that because it's an extracurricular activity, coaches can mandate their own principles. They can have rules that the students have to follow. If it becomes a co-curricular activity, then it's only the school can implement those rules, and coaches would have no say over that. In effect, I think every coach would actually have to be a DOE teacher, because it would be part of the curriculum. And I'm not sure how many coaches in the public school system would survive that, because I think most of them are volunteers and not teachers at the schools already.
Next question. You say this will increase costs to athletics because athletic programs will not be able to charge fees for student participation. What kind of fees are currently charged, and what do they offset?
So we don't charge any pay to play fee. So I'm just theorizing that right now the DOE has a hard time paying the coaches, because I know the athletic budget was cut. So I think the coaching budget was cut. So, and it's never been fully restored where you guys pay for all the coaches and their assistants. If you do it this way, I think there's a whole bunch of issues as to coaches' pay because they couldn't make that stipend of $5,000. I think they need a full-time teaching stipend. So you'd have to find teachers to do this.
Thank you, Chris. Terry, can I ask you questions, please?
Yes, Chair, sure.
Your testimony stated that athletics are already defined in BOE Policy 101-12 as co-curricular.
Our policies don't distinguish extracurricular separately, and the term co-curricular is what we have in our board policy.
So then what's the difference between the existing BOE definition and the definition that this bill seeks?
I think when we look at our definition, it's a rather wider definition. And I know that, as a former high school vice principal, we considered, any and all activities basically co-curricular because it did contribute to the overall program of the student's experience. But I do know that in some other places, they do make distinctions between how closely those activities are related to the students' coursework in particular classes.
And do you agree with Chris of HHSSA that the coaches would all have to be teachers?
If this were to move in the direction where students are earning credits, academic credits, then it would require a teacher to be teaching the course.
And my final question, do you have any idea what the average athletics budget for a school is if this bill were to be passed?
I'm sorry, I do not. We can look into that.
Okay. Thank you. Members, any further questions? Thank you. If not, we will. Okay, we've been given a hard stop at 3:45. We did start late, so we're getting additional time, but let's move on, hopefully quickly, to the next bill. Senate Bill 2081 relating to the Department of Education Commercial Enterprises Revolving Fund. To testify, Interim Superintendent, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair Kidani and Vice Chair Mercado Kim and members of the committee. Terry Ushijima again. The Department of Education supports Senate Bill 2081 to establish the Commercial Enterprise Revolving Fund. We support opportunities for students to participate in commercial enterprises in their schools. These experiences provide students with the hands-on and real-world experiences that are critical to post-secondary and workforce success. Thank you for this opportunity to provide testimony for SB 2081.
Thank you, Terry. Next to testify, Trevor Arbarzua, Chamber of Commerce, Hawaii, please.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Trevor Arbarzua, Chamber of Commerce, Hawaii. We stand in support of this bill and stand on our written testimony. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Trevor. That concludes our oral testimony. Members, any questions?
Yes, I do. So for the department, is this fund going to be self-sufficient, self-sustaining?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Oh no, I'm sorry. My computer just flashed. Yes, that is the intention.
Okay, and that monies will come from the commercial enterprise of whatever it is that the students would be working on. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the idea. That and hopefully that eventually we will also be able to expand to scale up or increase the programs.
Okay, and if it's such time that it's not self-sufficient. So as far as startup and everything, that would come all inclusive, everything would be paid for out of this, out of the funds that's generated from the special enterprise fund.
So I think that that is our intention. And so when we start up programs, there's fees. And so it's getting the programs to the point where they are self-sustaining. And because, this is also part of the learning process, it's really about education. It is anticipated that there will be some lessons that we will have to learn along the way.
Yes, I understand that, but but to create a special fund, there are certain requirements that you have to meet. And I just want to make sure that the department is aware of that, and that because we have a lot of good intentions and we have a lot of special funds that get created, and then it does not fulfill the requirements at some point. So
yes, we intend fully to comply with all those requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, members. We're on our final bill. Hopefully we can get through this and do decision making. Senate Bill 2892 relating to Ke Kula o Ehunui Kai Malino. Establish working group to address the student enrollment capacity and expansion needs of Ke Kula Kai o Ehunui Kai Malino and develop a plan to utilize funds previously appropriated by the legislature. To testify, Yvonne Lau, please.
Not present, Chair.
Thank you. Members, that concludes the testimony. Any questions of no one that testifies? If not, we'll go to the recommendations. Members, Senate Bill 3296 is really a difficult bill to understand, and my heart aches for those students that have not been able to participate and for whatever reasons. Yet I do know and understand what DOE and HHS is saying to us, but I would still like to move this bill along to make some technical and non-substantive amendments. I know the House companion is moving, and it is the chair's expectation that DOE will have be able to provide us with cost estimates at the time that the House bill does cross over, and then we can look at that element. So, and we'll also be deferring to July 1, 2050 to give the next committee time to look at it and see how we would be able to fund this measure. Members, questions?
Yeah, so can we amend this further to put in that it's not going to be credit, or I mean, I think that's the concern that
I want to look at that a little bit more, and I think with the next committee, I would make a recommendation to include that.
Okay.
I have some.
Can we
problem
put
with the
stuff
definition.
in the committee report
Yes,
raising the concerns?
yes.
Okay, thank
We
you.
can put it in the committee
Okay,
report.
I'm going to go WR.
Thank you. Thank you, members. Any questions, further questions? So the recommendation of the chair then is to pass out Senate Bill 3296 with technical non-substantive amendments, and also to defect the date to July 1, 2050, noting Senator Kim's concerns and adding comments to the committee report. Chair votes aye.
Okay, chair votes aye on Senate Bill 3296 to pass with amendments. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator De La Cruz.
Aye.
Senator Kanuha.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
All five members voting in the affirmative. Recommendations adopted.
Thank you, members. Senate Bill 2081 relating to the Department of Education Commercial Enterprises Revolving Fund. Recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments, noting in the committee report the intent of this measure is to ensure that the DOE has a revolving fund where proceeds from actions to monetize facilities can be utilized to defray future repair and maintenance costs on school buildings, and also have technical and non-substantive amendments. Question, members? Chair votes aye.
Okay, chair votes aye on Senate Bill 2081 to pass with amendments. Any member voting in the reservations, any members voting in opposition? If not, all 5 members present, the recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. And for the last bill, Senate Bill 2892 relating to Kekula Oke Nui Kai Malino. Recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments, amending the preamble to clarify that this is a Hawaiian immersion school and not a charter school as noted in Charter Commission's testimony. Also inserting a blank appropriation to cover costs associated with the working group and technical and non-substantive amendments. Chair, members, questions? If not, chair votes aye.
Recommendation is to pass Senate Bill 2892 with amendments. Any member present voting with reservations, voting in opposition, hearing none, all 5 members voting aye, recommendations adopted.
Thank you so much, members. Oh, sorry, we have one more. It's just for DM. I lied. Okay, members, we have Senate Bill 2823. This is relating to education. This was a school psychologist national certification incentive program. So the recommendation is going to be to pass this out with amendments, amending this bill to clarify who is eligible for the additional 5,000 bonus by deleting subsection A, B, and C on page 2 and replacing the word school on line 8 with the word hard to fill area. Number 2, also amending to delete subsection 5. 3, blanking out the appropriation, but inserting the $300,000 amount into the committee report for consideration by Ways and Means. And last, to defect the date to July 1, 2050. Members, questions? If not, Senate Bill 2823 to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Recommendation pass SB 2823 with amendments. Any member present voting no, any members voting with reservations, hearing none, recommendations adopted with 5 members voting aye.
Thank you. Thank you, members, for hanging in there with me. Appreciate lateness and on Friday evening. This meeting's adjourned.